Partnered by Times Influence.
Schneider Electric, the leader in digital transformation of energy management and automation, hosted the Innovation Summit for the first time in India. The summit aimed to bring together top industry leaders who shared critical insights on the growth of a digital economy and navigating it with disruptive technology tools. Over 1,000 Schneider Electric customers from across India and the Asia-Pacific region attended the event, where more than 50 experts participated in strategic discussions and interactive sessions. The two-day gala event also hosted an innovation hub where the company showcased the rich portfolio of software solutions and services.
This innovation hub is going around the world. Last 2 years, it has gone to 8 countries, touched about 20,000 customers, and I'm very proud and happy to be presenting this to our Indian customers here in New Delhi on these 2 days. And on display are all our EcoStruxure platforms for various segments, various the markets which we are addressing, and we are sharing with customers how this new technology is able to create maximum value and efficiency for their businesses.
One of the main highlights of the event was the CEO panel discussion, where the industry's top brass discussed and deliberated on the topic of the new world of energy and digitization.
So I have on my panel representation from innovation, from data, from the biggest names in banking, FMCG, energy. And I can't help but ask all of you, and this is going to be a question common to all of you, on what data is really doing to your business in terms of how differently are you doing business today vis-a-vis how you were doing it 5 years back. And it's only fair I begin with a co-woman panelist on the show and also one of India's most powerful women leaders, Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya.
I must say that 5 years back and today, business is very, very different because the use of digital has now permeated every angle. Means it's not only that you're doing it for your customers, but you're doing it for management of in-house resources, you're doing it for the performance management, you are doing it for so many other things. And I think it's something that's quite inevitable. It's something that's sort of overtaken us. We are glad that we have ridden that wave. We have not allowed the wave to swamp us. But the fact remains that today, for instance, if you're looking at engaging with your customers, you have to have a digital platform. If you're looking at ensuring that you're using your resources in a very optimal manner, you have to use a digital platform. Not only that, if you're looking at costs, today, what are the main costs of a service industry? The main cost for a bank are its human resources and its real estate.
That's right.
Now, both of these, if you're going to make it something that is comparative and that sort of compares well with your peer group, then you have to use digital in these areas. Because otherwise, you will not be able to look at the scaling up of business without equivalent scaling up of human resources. And that is something that you have to do. Otherwise, you will not be competitive at all in your industry. Besides that, I think if you look at today's youth, the new generation, and India especially so, because the 26.5, I think, is the average age of Indians.
Right.
The current generation actually, I find, is more comfortable interacting on a screen rather than interacting one-on-one. And you can't do that unless you have digital products. Sure. So I think, overall, not only the customer's inclination, but also the fact that the way we are doing business has become different. So digital is absolutely part of something that we have to do.
There's a reason why they say if you're not digital, you're dead today. But Suresh Narayan, I'll ask you this question on, anecdotally speaking, what has changed in the last 5 years? I mean, as Bhattacharya rightly explained that it's not just your customers that you need to focus on as you go digital, but within the organization and all of that as well. But give me an anecdotal evidence of how different things are due to digital today in the last 5 years.
Well, I can tell you, Supriya, that for a consumer-facing organization like Nestle, and we are the world's largest food and beverage and nutrition organization with over 2,000 brands. So therefore, our face is and our interest is always with where the consumer is moving. 5-10 years ago, there were 2 or 3 things that has changed and which is what is making our own behaviors change. Number one, we were earlier looking at gathering consumer insights before we went into the whole marketing process. And that was a fairly elaborate exercise that used to be done using a lot of consumer research, static consumer research, but giving you inputs for what to do and what to launch and what not to launch. Today that has changed. Most of it is on online platforms. You get feedback from consumers on exactly what they want, what they don't want, what they like, what they don't like. So it's a kind of co-marketing platform that today we are working as far as consumers are concerned. Number two, 5-10 years ago, you were talking about a digital marketing department, right? And you were saying, let's have digital agencies interfacing with companies. And we had a brand marketing or brand management function, marketing function, and a digital marketing function. Today, digital is an essential part, as Mrs. Bhattacharya rightly said. It is an essential part of every marketing instrument and every marketing plan that you do. So there's nothing called digital marketing as far as Nestle is concerned. Digital is embedded in marketing. The challenge that we have is to address and to be able to fulfill the needs and desires of digitally enabled customers and consumers. So that's the second one. Third, in terms of resource allocation, there was a time when digital used to be a tick in the box.
That's right.
There were 5 boxes starting from television, advertising, press, and everything else, and bottom of the list, because of some CEO to be satisfied or somebody to be told that I am in the new technology age, you used to tick the box. Today, again, thanks to the fact that your consumer base is so highly and so much oriented towards digital platforms, you start with a digital-centric idea, and then you try and see how it can have manifestations across the value chain. So, to me, it is really chalk and cheese in terms of not only the way to access consumer insights, but also the way in which you run your marketing departments, and in fact, the way in which you access new ideas, new modes of communication, and even resource allocation. 5-10 years ago, the amount of money spent on digital was probably sub 10%, maybe even 5%. Today, on some of my brands, I spend more than a third or maybe even 2/3 of my budget going on digital engagements.
And that's a huge change if your resource allocation goes away. But you touched upon a very important point that digital used to be this one tick in the box earlier. It's now obviously inherent and integral to what you do today. Let me ask you this, Mr. Banerjee. Digital, many perceive, at least 5 years back, used to be the CIO's function. The CIO would be involved with digital. It was just one tick in the box that would happen. Is today digital at the heart and soul of an organization? It's really the CEO's job to do digital.
Just to, supplement what the other speakers were saying, today's generation is becoming more digital, and they are always communicating on something which is on a screen, whether it's a WhatsApp, whether it's a Facebook, whether it's Twitter and all. Now the point here is that we are an organization which serves a lot of consumers. We serve about 1.2 crore of consumers, and the consumers are becoming very less and less tolerant. Now, in Mumbai, where we supply power, we have a 24/7 power supply there. We don't have DG sets there. Even the buildings don't have any lifts or backups. Now, in such an organization in such a situation where people are becoming so demanding, digital is no more a separate entity or a function like a marketing function. It's a core of the utility. And today, the data has become so important. That means we used to have a consumer data on an ERP system, on an ISU system of SAP ERP. But then somebody used to call the call center, and the call center used to go back to the customer record to understand whether he has a query on a power outage, whether he has a query on a bill and all that, and he had to back-end with the system, and maybe back-end with the outage system of SCADA and all. Today, we find that no consumer is ready to go through that system of press 1, press 2 for this, press 3 for this, and press 4 for that. So we found that the best way to handle this and ensure that the consumers don't stand on a queue in a call center we have introduced an digital assistant as Electra, and we have trained it to respond on data. It's currently on Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp. It can respond to the people on any queries on whatever it is. Now, when you look at the other part, the consumers today do not want to queue up to pay the bills. So when the banking system has changed, the mobility platforms have come up. Today, everything has become on the digital platform. The consumers can just open a mobile app of ours or use the dynamic QR code for scanning and paying through any channel, whether it's a UPI-based channel, whether it's a mobile wallet, and it can the payment happen online and digital. So today, not only it's a CIO's function, it is the CEO's vision that how to take it forward, how to make his workforce management automated so that they can serve an economy which is a digital economy.
Fair point. Mr. Chaudhary, would you want to supplement this point and give me an example of how digital has not just become the CEO's function, but digital is at the core of how business is going to progress from now on, or how it has actually changed in the last 5 years?
Yeah, no, I think this is very important, and I fully endorse the point shared by my fellow panelists. I think digital is no more a CEO's choice, or that, you know, if it is driven from the top and all, because all the examples which we heard, I mean, it's no more one of those tick points which you have to do it. It's a very integral part of the way of doing business in the present world, in the 21st century. I think it's all about more and more connected people, connected customers, connected employees, and it's also more and more it is becoming about connected machines. By 2020, we have 30 billion machines which are going to be connected all across, and the amount of, you know, the challenge which that data is going to face, if we are not putting this as the center of our strategy, you're not able to cope with the business. It's not a question of whether you survive or not, but you are not in a business where you are, able to do the business in the 21st century, when the life cycle of the businesses will be very small if you are not able to innovate. So I think going forward, Schneider Electric, that's what we are working on, that all these businesses coming from different segments, different domains, digital is a fundamental core of their business strategy. How we can keep those machines, how we can keep those infrastructure on all the time to ensure the life is on for all of them, everywhere, every moment, and at all the time. And that's where the emphasis for us is more on connected products, connected solutions, connected machines, and using that data to provide a solution which is ensuring safe, reliable, and quality operations for our end customers, for them to create value for that.
Let's get a view from the man who does data. And Chris Kumar, my question to you really is, for the digital journey to be smart and sustainable, one presumes that businesses need to leverage data well. So whether it's data capturing or data analytics or data-driven automation on part of that, how are you seeing that change for businesses?
That's a good question, and really should be the heart of all company strategies. So if you think about what's going on today, we've shifted pretty dramatically in the last few years from a linear economy to a circular economy. Circular economy is really about reducing waste in all different forms. And so we're starting to see these asset-light businesses combined with old-world businesses and start to create new ecosystems and new business models. So like an Airbnb or an Uber, you know, smart use of technology, creating a business model really out of ether. And they don't really have any assets to talk about, but a market cap of 80 billion. With a very successful revenue stream today and a growing revenue stream from different aspects. So I think at the heart of what we want to think about data being, I love data, by the way. It fuels my business. I wake up every morning loving data. But it is the new oil. And if you don't have the right engine, that oil is useless. There's nothing to burn that oil in. So I think the challenge going into the future is going to be, how do companies, how do individuals take that data and convert it to knowledge? And take that information, convert it to knowledge, and then move to the next plane, which is wisdom, that provides real intuitions into customer insights and figuring out a way to do that where you're using artificial intelligence, you're using big machine learning, but you're gaining insights that are almost converting that artificial intelligence to real-world intelligence. I fear if that doesn't happen, that we'll have nations and a population that's pretty dumb, that actually loses their power of real intelligence because they're so reliant on machines and so reliant on data. So taking that data, converting it to knowledge, and then getting wisdom out of it is the real key to actually a company's successful digital strategy.
And I guess the successful ones are perhaps doing the right thing and are perhaps doing that. But I don't know how many people in this audience have this question. I sometimes come up with this question. I think it's the moot question of this entire thing. What do you define as digital? And Ms. Bhattacharya, if I may ask you, is it digital? Is it data crunching? Is it social platforms? Is it collaboration? I mean, there are times in the day where I wonder what really is digital.
When we launched the digital drive in SBI, actually one of my biggest challenges was explaining to the people, to my own people, internal customers, what I meant by the digital drive. Because they really didn't have an inkling as to what they were trying to think. And it was all very amorphous, what they were trying to do. They already had internet banking. They had mobile banking. What more is required and what is digital? In fact, that's when, we decided that we'd put up some signature branches in malls in order to show what the branch of the future would look like. And these branches, they were in two parts. One part would be open 24/7, and they had an ATM, a cash deposit machine, a check deposit machine, a passbook printer, a multifunction kiosks. This could be open through the day and night. And then just as you come in, there was an account opening kiosk where if you had your Aadhaar number, you could open your account in 10 minutes. There was a debit card printer where you could personalize and print your debit card in the next 10 minutes. So walk out with the operative account in 20 minutes. And then you had these walls with huge screens where you could play around with loan products. So for instance, you need a car loan. You can say, I need a car loan, or rather, I want to buy a car. And the machine would ask you, do you want a used car or a new car? You specify. They'll ask you, what's your budget? They will show you all of the models within that budget. You specify a model. It will show you what social media is saying about it, what the manufacturer is saying about it, and then it will ask you, do you need a loan? If you say yes, it will ask you 4 or 5 basic questions, tell you how much of loan you can get. So basically, then also we had these smart tables that look like a spaceship kind of table, where you had these screens for investment products, and you could specify your dream and it would show you what kind of investments you had. Now, these branches were actually created for our people to come in and play around in order to understand what we were meaning by digital. So digital is not merely internet banking. There is so much more to it. There is data gathering to it. There is analysis to it. There is a lot that you do proactively without the customer ever asking for it. For instance, on a digital platform, you'd never have to requisition a checkbook, which everybody had been doing, because the system understands you have used your 4th last check, dispatches a checkbook to you. So, the whole concept is really, it stood on its head. And for people to really understand what we were talking took quite a bit of time.
That's actually, we often don't realize how much things have changed thanks to digital. And you're right, the last time I think SBI did probably ask me if I needed a checkbook. But, you're in the consumer-facing business as well. How would you define digital? The way banking has changed, I think digital is, like she says, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought of this amorphous concept of digital. But for an FMCG company, what is digital?
Look, Supriya, the way I look at this whole much bandied, much abused term digital, underlying any phenomenon is a process of change. To me, what digital signals is the management of change at 3 levels in business for an organization. Number 1, in terms of what are the activities, what are the processes, what is it that it will do, and what is it that somebody else will do. So therefore, this inward versus outward flow of processes, techniques, and manifestations that bring about the change is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that it brings about a whole process of empowerment and change within the organizational structure. You see, we are all used to organization structures which are pyramidal. We have pyramids, starting from the top chairman right down. Digital is forcing us into circular organization structures, where everyone has got an important say, not necessarily an equal say, important say in the way in which things are done. So in areas like, for example, finance, in areas like human resources, in areas like procurement, today you've got self-directed systems that you have your download, you decide on the procurement specifications, you decide on the vendor to go to, you place the order, and you also raise the payment notification for it. I think there's an enormous amount of change within the organization itself that is taking place. And the third element, I think, which is important, is the whole consumer connectivity that we're talking about. 70% of my organization, Nestle, are millennials. And these are guys who are born between 81 and 1996. 97 is Generation Z, which are entering the workforce. I mean, these are youngsters who are 21 years old. They will be coming into the workforce. So I think the whole connectivity with consumers has also changed. To me, digital signals a huge challenge in change management. That is why leadership counts. And secondly, I believe very strongly in the adage, disrupt, but do not destroy. So I think it is disrupt what needs to be disrupted, but remain with what your core is and don't destroy the core of the organization.
Indeed. But on that note, I think we'll wrap up this panel. Thank you very, very much, all of you, for being a wonderful panel right here and giving us the insight into digital India. We've got a cross-section of views from banking to FMCG to energy, from data and from people at Schneider to talk about what digital really means. You can't wish it away. It's upon us, and I think it's best we find out ways to embrace it, not be destroyed, but be prepared for disruption. Thanks very much. Thank you so much.
As an extension to this CEO panel discussion and as an instantiation of Schneider Electric's commitment to the digital economy, we partnered with KPMG to actually interview and meet close to 15 CEOs of India across various segments to just get their perspective of what it means towards embracing digital transformation. And I have great pleasure in saying that we have curated a handbook which is going to be launched today, towards this commitment. And I'd like to call upon our Global Chief Marketing Officer, Chris Leong, to please launch this book for us.
The two-day celebration of excellence in technology concluded with insightful takeaways. All the sessions during the course of the Innovation Summit reiterated Schneider Electric's commitment to the sustainability agenda and their alignment with the government's long-term vision of bringing down the carbon footprint.
Partnered by Times Influence.